So here's the issue for those who are interested in why his worldview makes no bloody sense. If you go look at the prophecies that Jesus is referring to back when you see in Matthew 24, this is the famous passage where he says this generation won't pass away, run away when you see the abomination of desolation, for these are the days of the great tribulation. All these lines are references back to Daniel 11. Now, in Daniel 11, we have the prophecy of the end times. Now, the reason why this is important is because if you read Daniel throughout its context, you find out something. Daniel says that there's going to be 4 world empires that exist prior to the establishment of the kingdom of God, right? The everlasting kingdom. And he later states that there's going to be this little horn. That's his like code word for him. This little horn will be the king, or will come out of a country called Greece that conquers Persia. This is in Daniel 8. He says that after this empire is broken up, there will be 4 kingdoms left, and from out of one of those will come this evil oppressor. Finally, we reach Daniel 11, and also 10 and 12. We find out.
Dawkins just moved to the philosophy.
That's all right. He can run if you want. When you get to Daniel's final vision, which
Dawkins
is Daniel 10, 11, and 12, he says, during the 3rd year of Cyrus the Great, that the prince of Greece is about to come, and I'm going to tell you about your future at the end time. He then says there's going to be 4 more kings in Persia, and the 4th will attack Greece. When you do the counting, you get Cambyses II, Bardia, Darius I, and Xerxes. Xerxes is this is Sparta, the whole scenario, right? So we know that he's talking about Xerxes here. He then says after him will come this mighty king that is conquers a bunch of stuff, then dies, and his empire is given to those who aren't his descendants. It uses the same phraseology as Daniel 8. So we know he's talking about Alexander the Great. He then begins to narrate in exquisite detail the history of 2 dynasties that follow immediately after him. One known as the King of the North, and the other one's known as the Kings of the South. When you go through history and line these up with Alexander the Great's successor states, it matches perfectly with the wars between the Ptolemies and the Seleucids, down to nitty-gritty details like marriage arrangements. Finally, it reaches the last king, which corresponds to the historical king Antiochus Epiphanes. Antiochus Epiphanes is accurately described until it starts talking about the end time, which it's stated is in this guy's lifetime, at which point he launches an unhistorical war into Egypt, and the dead are supposed to resurrect, some to everlasting life and everlasting righteousness at this time, and it's failed to happen. Since the Torah says disregard any prophet that speaks and what he says doesn't come true, we know that we are to disregard the book of Daniel. And by extension, Jesus.
That's a pretty good point.